This is video 12, the final lesson in the step-by-step success transformation series. The title of this video is Don't Quit Before Your Life Begins to Change. Have you ever planted a seed in the ground and then waited for days and weeks and nothing appears to be happening? You water it, you protect it, you continue caring for it, maybe you fertilize it, and yet when you look at the soil, it seems as though absolutely nothing is changing. If you did not understand how seeds grow, you might conclude that nothing was happening beneath the surface. You might even become impatient. You might dig up the seed to figure out what's going on. But of course, that would be the worst thing you could do. Long before you ever see a sprout reaching toward the sunlight, something extraordinary is taking place beneath the ground. Tiny roots are quietly growing. They're establishing themselves, preparing for the visible life that will eventually emerge. Personal growth is often unfolding in a similar way. The most important changes usually begin long before you can see them. And this is why I choose to conclude this entire series with what I believe is the most important lesson of all. It's not another affirmation video or another mental exercise. It's learning to stay with the program long enough for the process to work. Throughout this series, I've explored invisible beliefs, self-talk and mind talk, emotional conditioning, visualization techniques, journaling, affirmations, and taking action. And each of these, call them techniques, has a value, of course, but they all share one common principle. You become what you repeatedly practice, not what you occasionally think about, not what you wish for, not what you hope for, not what you become excited about for a few days. You become what you consistently practice. Why? Because repetition is what gradually takes root in the subconscious mind. The subconscious is like a rudder on a great ship. Compared to the size of the ship, the rudder seems pretty small. And yet that little rudder determines the direction in which the entire huge ship is going to go. Well, your subconscious has a similar role to play. It quietly influences your attitudes, your emotional reactions, what you energize, what you withhold energy from, your habits, your decisions, the opportunities you recognize, relationships that you choose to pursue, and ultimately the entire direction your life is going to take. If the subconscious has been conditioned by years of fear and doubt and guilt and criticism and shame, or feeling like you're unworthy or there's something wrong with you or you're limited or lack is your calling and karma, then those invisible patterns will steer your life in those directions. But when you repeatedly feed your subconscious healthy thoughts, exciting thoughts, positive thoughts, constructive thoughts, healthy thoughts, positive emotions, positive expectations, healthy habits, you gradually begin turning the rudder. And at first, a change may seem almost to be insignificant, but over time, everything changes. So imagine there's an airplane leaving Los Angeles on a flight across the ocean, and if the pilot changes course by only 1 degree, nobody in the passenger compartment's going to even notice. The airplane will appear to be flying exactly as it was before, but hour after hour, that tiny adjustment continues, and eventually the plane arrives at an entirely different destination. Well, your life works like this. A single encouraging thought may not seem to be all that important. A visualization may not seem to accomplish much. Reading your journal today may not appear to change your life, but repeated day after day, week after week, month after month, those small adjustments gradually alter the direction of your entire life. Now, one of the principles I mentioned in a previous video was act as if what you are visualizing already exists. So this means that you begin to cooperate with the future that you are creating. What this means is, suppose you're visualizing the ideal home that you want to live in. Well, you might begin collecting some ideas, looking at floor plans, studying landscaping, learning about architecture. Not because you're pretending to own the home right now, but because you're preparing yourself for tomorrow. If you're creating greater health, you begin learning about nutrition, exercise, rest, healthy habits. You become interested in the lifestyle that you hope to live. And so this is actually one of the most enjoyable parts of the entire process. You are no longer merely wishing or hoping. You're participating. You're involving yourself in nurturing your vision. You're giving it an emotional life. You're creating a reality around it, not merely an intellectual pursuit or a fantasy. Your mind is important, but your feelings are what provide the energy. So you allow yourself to become emotionally connected to the life that you're creating. And then you continue acting wisely in the direction of your vision. Now, here's another part of the process that surprises many people. Sometimes as you begin changing internally, your outer life temporarily becomes a little, let's say, unsettled. You might even think it's not working or you're going backward. You might find old habits begin falling away. Relationships might shift. Your interests change. Priorities become difficult. Opportunities appear that never interested you before. Sometimes you feel that parts of your life are coming apart. You might think you're going backward. If that happens, don't immediately assume something has gone wrong. Sometimes things need to come apart so they can come together in a much healthier way. If you've ever remodeled a home or a room, then you've probably seen this happen. For a while, everything looks worse. You remove the cabinets, there's dust everywhere, the room is unusable. And if someone walked in the middle of the renovation, they might include that this project has become a disaster. But somebody who understands the process would smile, and they know there's an ongoing process here. And this apparent disorder is very temporary. It's actually preparing for something much better. Your personal growth is often a little bit like that. The old way of living begins to lose its hold. And that happens sometimes before the new way can be fully established. Sometimes even this happens. You might hit the core of one of your disbeliefs or one of your fears, and it can come up and feel really strong, and you think, oh my goodness, I'm going backward, this is terrible. But actually, it could be a good sign that you finally are getting to the core of the problem and you're in the process of releasing it. Over the years, I've literally watched thousands of people begin a journey of personal growth. They read a lot of books, they go to the workshops, they listen to inspiring talks, maybe they start meditating, they do affirmations, they do creative visualization, and for a few weeks, they're excited. They're diligent, they're dedicated, they're hopeful. And then something happens. Their life hasn't changed yet. It hasn't changed as quickly as they were hoping for or they expected. They still have some old habits. They still have some old self-talk that's doubting and even negative. So the same problems might continue showing up. And they begin wondering if anything positive is really happening. So doubt starts seeping its way in, replacing their enthusiasm. Pretty soon they stop doing the affirmations. Their journal stays closed. The visualizations become less frequent. And eventually they conclude, well, I tried that and I guess that doesn't work either. But the truth is, they didn't really give it the time needed to work. One of the greatest misconceptions in personal development is the belief that because you cannot see immediate change, no change is taking place. And this simply is not true. Remember the seed beneath the soil? Remember the airplane that changes its direction by adjusting its course only 1 or 2 degrees? Real transformation is usually gradual. In fact, if change happened overnight, a lot of people couldn't handle it or sustain it. So growth needs to become something that is stabilizing. The subconscious mind learns through repetition, and it gradually accepts what is repeatedly experienced, repeated verbally, visualized repeatedly, and then one day, without even realizing when it happened, a new habit becomes easier than the old habit. A healthier response begins replacing the unhealthy one. And that is when transformation has truly begun. And you no longer have to force yourself. You have become different. And remember, your subconscious is the rudder of your life. A ship does not arrive at its destination because of one dramatic turn of a wheel. It arrives because the rudder consistently holds the proper course. And your life works in a similar way. Every encouraging thought, every healthy decision, every positive visualization, every positive affirmation, every act of forgiveness, every moment of gratitude, every time you choose a positive expectancy instead of fear, you are making another small adjustment on the rudder. And one small adjustment may seem to be insignificant, but hundreds of adjustments, thousands of adjustments are going to determine your destination. There's another lesson that I've learned after many decades of working with people. Progress is never a straight line like a rocket going up. Some days you feel inspired. Other days you're going to wonder why you ever began. Some weeks you feel as though you're making tremendous progress, and then other weeks you feel as though you're just plain standing still. That's the way it works. That is perfectly normal and natural. Growth has seasons. There are seasons of rapid growth, and there are seasons of becoming stuck, seemingly, on a plateau of quiet integration. And even at those times when it doesn't seem like anything is happening, there's still a lot going on at a deeper level. The roots are deepening, they're spreading out, they're forming a platform for the next level of growth. So there will be seasons when you're going to think not much of anything is happening. Don't mistake a quiet season for failure. Roots grow in the ground unnoticed. And if you become discouraged, don't criticize yourself. Don't throw away your journal. Don't decide that you failed. You simply begin again, maybe where you left off. If you miss a day or 2 or 3, begin again. If you miss a week, begin again. If life distracts you for a few months, begin again. The important thing is not perfection. The important thing is returning to the path. Every time you begin again, you strengthen the habit of perseverance. And perseverance is one of the finest qualities a human being can develop. There's something else that I'd like you to remember. This series began as a discussion about success. Perhaps you've noticed that we've traveled together, and the conversation has gradually become about something much larger. Real success is not simply getting more of what you want. It is becoming more of who you're capable of being. As you become calmer, more compassionate, more emotionally balanced, more self-aware, more grateful, more responsible for your own thoughts, more confident, your own thinking and your outer life will naturally begin reflecting those inner changes. So the greatest reward isn't simply achieving your goals. The greatest reward is becoming the kind of person who can enjoy those goals and enjoy them wisely. Perhaps the most important character quality you can develop is dedication and commitment and persistence. If you have these, they will carry you through those patterns where you feel like you're not making much progress. They will carry you across the plateaus and even the dips and the places where you're not even doing anything. They're the fuel that will drive your efforts and will bring you back on course. And they will produce the results you're looking for. Now, as we're coming to the end of this step-by-step transformation success series, I'd like to leave you with a final thought. Years from now, you may look back and realize that the life you have been living began with a few simple decisions. Decisions you almost abandoned. So don't judge yourself today. Don't judge yourself by progress that seems to be slow. Trust the process. Allow this process to become part of who you are. Be dedicated. Trust that every healthy thought, every wise decision, every loving action, every moment of renewed commitment is quietly guiding you toward a richer, more meaningful life. I wish you the joy of becoming the very best version of yourself. And I do thank you for watching. I'm Jonathan Parker.